Welcome to our Detroit News High School Football Preview. I'm Rod Beard. I'm joined by Tom Markowski. We're here at Farmington Hills Harrison High School at a scrimmage. We're going to break down some of the top teams in the state this year with Tom's top 20 teams. We're also going to break down each of the leagues, talk about some of the top teams and maybe some of the surprise teams this year. And Tom, let's get into your top 20 already. Who's one of those teams that you think may be a surprise, that didn't do so well last year but is going to be a surprise this year?
Well, a team that I don't have in my top 20 that almost inched in, I'm going to have to take a look at closely as the season goes on. In fact, I'm going to take a look at them at the first game of the season, is Utica Ford. Utica Ford was 7-4 last year, obviously won a playoff game. They've never won more than one playoff game in a season, meaning they've never won a district. But they've got 9 starters back on offense, 8 on defense, and this could be their best team ever. On paper, this could be, their franchise type of season. They're going to have to go against Utica Eisenhower the first game of the season. We're going to find out right away. I have Eisenhower number 4 in the state, so we'll find out how good Ford is right away.
All right, let's get into that top 20 immediately. Number 20 is Mount Pleasant. 19 is Holt. Number 18, the top PSL team, is Detroit Cass Tech. 17 is Zeeland East, and 16 is Birmingham Brother Rice. And Rice coming from that Catholic League, that's a strong division this year, like it is every year just about.
And it's kind of strange this year, and I really didn't know where to put Rice. They have a really big offensive line, and I expect them to run the ball really well this year. The only question I have, and it's the same question about a team we'll talk about in a little bit, and that's Orchard Lake St. Mary's, is the quarterback situation. And I think that also has to be a concern of Thomas Wiltshire at Detroit Cass Tech. They have to replace their quarterback. If both Brother Rice and Cass Tech are able to find a quarterback that's able just to manage the offense, not make the big mistakes, maybe come up with a big third down pass here and there, I think they're going to both have a great season. If they just, have a so-so year out of their quarterback, they're going to have a so-so year on the field.
Moving on, Temperance Bedford checks in at 15. Orchard Lake St. Mary's, as you mentioned, is number 14. Romeo from the MAC is number 13. Lake Orion, the defending Division I state champion, is 12. And Grand Rapids Christian, number 11. And Lake Orion, coming off that season last year, it's going to be pretty hard for them to match anything that they did last year.
They lost 18 out of their 22 position players. But Chris Bell has one of the biggest teams as far as numbers-wise in the state. So he's got a lot of players to work with. His junior varsity had a good season last year. They're so big in numbers. They had 2 freshman teams last year. So they have a number of kids that go into the well with. It's going to take them a while. They open up at Oxford, which should be an interesting game because Oxford's got that new blue turf, and there's going to be God knows how many people in Oxford watching that game. So it's going to be quite a scene. So we'll see how Lake Orion gets off the snide, so to speak, early on. Grand Rapids Christian is an interesting team. I would never have thought of ranking Grand Rapids Christian before. They're just not a football power. They've been a good basketball team in the past. Last year in the playoffs, they lost to East Grand Rapids 49-48, and they've got a lot of kids back from that team. They're a high-scoring team, and they're really the new power team on the state's west side.
Let's get into the top 10. Muskegon, always a west side power. They're a number 10 team. Plymouth, off a great season last year, they're number 9. Clarkston, number 8. East Grand Rapids, the 5-time defending champion. It sounds weird to even say that. 5-time defending champion is number 7, and Lowell is number 6.
Well, East Grand Rapids, they're 5 in a row. The only other team that's done that is the team that's behind us right now, Farmington Hills Harrison. So that's quite a feat in itself, and they got another chance of winning D3, and it's no surprise on that. But Peter Sturzma, the coach there, has to replace his quarterback, a 2-year starter. That's always a concern. I look at teams like Orchard Lake St. Mary's and Brother Rice and Cass Tech, like we mentioned. When you have to replace a quarterback, there's always some questions there. Unless you have so much confidence in that player, whether it be his success at the junior varsity level, or perhaps maybe he subbed a little bit last year during some games and did well. There's going to be some questions there. But East Grand Rapids is East Grand Rapids, and they're going to be very good. Plymouth is an interesting team. I really believe on paper they could be better than they were last year, and you say, well, how can they be better than they were last year? They got to the state finals. Well, they weren't supposed to get to the state finals, okay? Now, they pulled off upset after upset after. We stopped counting all the upsets they pulled off, and people are going to have them on their radar this year. Plymouth's going to be a different team. People are going to look at Plymouth and say, they're going to point to them and say, we got to beat them. We want to beat them because they got to the finals last year. That did not happen to them last year, and that was a good thing for them, that they were able to sneak up on people. There's no sneaking up on anybody this year. Sean Austin, the quarterback, is back, and you know, talking about the quarterback, that's a big thing for Plymouth, and I think Plymouth's going to score some points this year.
And not too long ago we were talking about Plymouth being the doormat of that league, and now we're talking about them being one of the top 10 teams in the state, so things can turn very, very quickly.
Yeah, they've had a quick rise. The program's only been in existence about 6 or 7 years, and for them to do what they've done is quite remarkable.
Let's get into our top 5, the big boys, of course. Number 5 is Canton. Number 4 is Utica Eisenhower, as you talked about. 3 is Detroit Catholic Central. And number 2 is Rockford. Got to have a representative from the west side of the state there. And our number 1 team, it's the guys right behind us, Farmington Hills Harrison. Talk about those big boys, Tom.
Well, they have so much Division I talent on their team. And John Harrington's teams, generally speaking, don't have that many D1 players. Back in 2000, they did. Marcus Woods, Agim Shabai, Drew Stanton. I mean, people remember that team. They were very, very good. They won. That group of kids won back-to-back titles. That was in their string of 5 in a row. But here they are. They're 14-0 last year, Harrison. They got, generally speaking, the same team back, except for Tommy Vento. We're talking about the quarterback now again. Jake Vento, his brother, is going to take his spot at quarterback. And I have a lot of confidence in Jake. I know I'm not on staff at Harrison, but because of his previous record on the junior varsity where he played quarterback, freshman year he played quarterback. This is not a new position for Jake. So this is, the staff at Harrison have a lot of confidence in him, and I think they're going to be very good. I mean, you can go through the Devin Funcheses, the Aaron Burbages, Mario Ojamudia. There's so many good players on this team, and they got some youngsters you're going to take a look at this year that's going to keep this program going.
And as much as we talk about the turnover in high school football, when you look at that top 5, if you just pick the names out of a hat, you couldn't come up with this 5, but you know those are 5 of the powerhouse teams in the state.
Well, you look at Utica Eisenhower, they haven't been there in a while. I mean, last time they got to the state finals was 2003. You go back to that era, they were one of the premier teams in the state. Granted, they never won one, but getting to the finals 4 years out of 5 was quite remarkable. This is their best team since then, and Rockford, it's really unusual to find a team with that size of a school, that program that returns 6 starters on one side and 7 on another. It's almost unheard of.
Well, Tom, we're not going to hold you to these rankings, but it gives us a good jumping off point to start the season, just a few days. For Tom Markowski, this is Rod Beard, and that's our top 20 breakdown.